Okay, so Manu, we are going to try to solve some problems which are related to lines. And in case of lines, what you'll find is that every line, straight line, can be drawn if I give you 2 points. So for example, if I give you this point and I give this point, I can draw a line, right? Or if I give you different points, let's try a different set of points. Let's say this is one point and this is the other point, then all I have to do is connect them and I can draw the line. Assume it went through this. Okay. Now every line that you have in the straight line, every straight line has a very important property, that it has a, so let's say this is, so this is the x-axis, and let's draw y-axis, right? And now let's take a line which is slightly, let's draw a line that goes through this point and this point. Okay? And this line has two things. One is the steepness of the line. So for example, this line has a steepness, but if I take a different line, which might look like this, it may start from the same point, but this line doesn't go is not as steep. So this thing of a line is called slope. Slope of a line is essentially how steep something is. Now the lines I've drawn is line number 1 and line number 2. They both are growing as x increase. As x increases, it implies that y also increases. So this slope is positive, right? If on the other hand I have a different line, let's draw a different line which may look like this. What is happening in this line? As x increases, this indicates increases, it implies that y is decreasing. So this means the slope is negative. So that is one property of the lines. The other property is that each of these lines, they intersect on y-axis. This is y-intercept, right? So every line, straight line in the world has an equation, as you know, is y equal ax plus b. A is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay? So now let's take some example. So I'm going to have a problem which is similar to what you said in your, let's take this problem number 122. It says there are points -2, 1, and 4 and -2. They want you to find the slope. They want you to know what the slope is. And they want you to find a parallel line. But we'll also find y-intercept, okay? We'll do both of those. So first thing we can do is that we can draw this thing. Let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2. And this is -2, -1, -2, 1, 2. Okay? Now let's draw the first point. First point is -2 and 1, which is over here. What is the second point? Is 4, which is here, and -2. So this point is -2 and 1, and this point is 4 and minus 2, correct? And now the line that is connecting these 2 points, there's only one line in the world that will connect these 2 points. And that line looks like this. So I'm going to draw these points clearly, right? And they want you to find what is the slope of the line. Now notice this line has a negative slope, right? So what we are saying is that, let's say this is point number 2 and this is point number 1. So to find the slope, we take y of 2 minus y of 1. And when I say y of mean the value of y for point number 1, this is value of y for point number 2, divided by the same order, the value of x for point number 2 minus value of x for point number 1. And let's make sure that you understand what this is. Well, what is y1? y1 is 1. What is x1? x1 is minus 2 because we are referring to this point, correct? Well, let's use what is the value of y2? y2 is referring to this point. So it is minus 2 and x2 in this case is 4. So let's plug in the value. So it's minus 2 minus 1 divided by 4 minus, let's be careful, minus 2. So minus 2 and minus 1 is minus 3 divided by 4 minus 2 becomes 4 plus 2, which is 6. So the slope is minus half. Okay, so this line has a slope of minus half, and minus tells you the line is going down. Now watch this. We know equation of a line is y equal ax plus b. Well, let's say slope is a, right? So the equation is y minus half x plus b. Every point on this line will follow this equation. But how do we find b? Well, let's make use of the fact that we know this point 1 is on this line. Point 1 is on the line, correct? So if I take the value of y for point 1, which is what? Minus 2 equals minus half times, actually I'm sorry, the value of y, erase that. I'm sorry, erase that. Yeah, let's just be careful. So value of y in this case, and I'm looking for y1 is equal to 1, right, for the point 1. And for point 1, the value of x is minus 2. So let's substitute in this equation. So we'll say 1 equal minus half times minus 2 plus b, right? So 1 equals, now this is minus half times minus 2. So let's be careful. This minus minus cancel, 2 over 2, 1 plus b. That tells me b equals 0, which is exactly what happened. You can see the y-intercept, b is equal to 0. So the equation of this line is y equal minus half x, and that's it, right? Now if I draw a line which is parallel to this line, let's say I want to draw a line that is parallel to it. Well, I can draw lots of lines that are exactly parallel to this. They will run parallel to this and they will have exactly the same slope. But they will have different y-intercepts. Some will be intersect here, some will here, and the original line is here, correct? So the trick in these things is the following. You find the slope by taking the difference in y, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and you get a slope. Then you take this formula y equal ax plus b and you substitute one of the points. We substituted the point 1 and we said y1 equal 1 and x1 equal minus 2, and we went through it and we found b equals 0. Let's do one more problem of this kind. All right, we will do the problem number 117. And in problem number 117, they have given a table to us, right? There's a table given to us, and we are given some value of x and y. I'm going to skip the most of the values, empty values, but I'm going to focus on the two values that are given to us. One is 8, 18, and other is 3 and 3. And let's say we call this point number 2, and let's say we call it point number 1. Right? If you draw this line, you'll find one of these points goes through the, let's say this is 3, 3. So this is 3, 3. And the other point is when x is 8, it's 18. Right? That's your other point. So let's do that. Let's connect this. Okay? So one point is 3, 3. Other point is 8 and 18. Well, we can draw this triangle. And we find that the difference of y's, point number 2, so I like to say y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Let's substitute these values. What is y2? y2 is this value, 18. What is y1? y1 is this value, which is 3. What is x2? x2 is 8. And this is x1, sorry. And this x1 is, how much is this x1? Is 3, correct? So let's substitute. We find the difference in y is 18 minus 3 divided by difference in x is 8 minus 3, which is 15 over 5, which is 3. So I know that equation of this line is y equal 3x plus b. b is y-intercept, correct? Now how do I find b? Well, I know point 1 is on this line. That means it has to point 1, which means point 3, 3 has to follow this rule. Right? That means if I substitute 3, 3 in this equation, it will work. Well, 3 is y equals slope is 3 times value of x is 3 plus b, or 3 equals 9 plus b. Therefore, b equals 3 minus 9 equals minus 6. That means the equation of this line is y equals 3x minus 6. Every point on this line will follow this rule. Does that make sense? So let's just go through and say, remember this equation? So look, we said the equation is y equals 3x minus 6, okay? So let's write the equation. We said y equals 3x minus 6. So if you give me an x, I can give you a y. No problem. So let's take one of the points. Let's take the point 6. X equals 6. What that tells me, if x equals 6, y equals 3 times 6 minus 6, which is 18 minus 6, which is equal 12. So I will have a point if x is 6, y has to be 12. I can take any value. Let's take another value. Let's take half. We know y equals 3x minus 6. if x equal half, what that tells me, therefore, y equal 3 times half minus 6. 3 times half is 3 half minus 6. To make the common denominator, I'll write 6 as 12 over 2. Makes sense? Because then I have common denominator, which is 3 minus 12 is minus 9 over 2. That's equal to minus 4.5. So that means if x equal half, y equals minus 4.5. So this point half and minus 4.5 will also be on the line. So that means you have found a rule. This is your rule. And using this rule, you can find all the value of y for a given x. Does that make sense? So let's recap. What we did in this case, we wanted to find a rule. To find a rule, you need 2 points. We chose these 2 points. I called 8, 18, this ordered pair as 2, and 3, 3 as 1, right? And then we said, let's find the difference in y. So difference in y, we found by looking at the difference between these two things. Difference in x was found using these two. And you have to be careful. If you're doing 18 minus 3, then you have to do 8 minus 3. So that gives us a slope. We know for every line y equal 3x plus b, which is b is the y-intercept. So that means every line will follow this rule. But we don't know the value of b. Well, we took one of the points. We could have taken 8, 18, but we chose to use 3, 3. We said y is 3 equal 3 times, which is the slope, times the value of x plus b. And we solved and we found b equal minus 6. This became the rule. And using this rule, by plugging in, by substituting the value of x for 6 or half, we were able to complete the table. Does that make sense? Okay, now let's talk real quickly about one of these other concept, which is association. I think you know this. What association means, there is a relationship. Means x and y are related. Which means, as an example, x goes up, y also goes up. I will say there's an association. X goes down, y goes up. There's an association. But if x changes and we don't know what will happen, y might go up or down, then you'll say, I don't think there's an association. Right? Let's take an example. Okay, in your book, we are going to go through 118. Here it says rain, inches of rain per hour and height of water. Well, what do you think? I think it makes sense. If there is more rain, it tells me there'll be more water. Well, then I'll say it's a positive association, right? Let's try a different one. Food a person eats versus number of pets. Do you think there's any relationship? Do you think whether we have Sona and two other dogs, it matters whether how much will you eat? Nah. So I'll say no association, right? Sometimes the association could be negative. So for example, hours hiking, this is example D actually, hours hiking and water in the bottle. What do you think will happen? If I plot this and I am getting more and more hiking done, this is time. What do you think will happen to the water? Will I get more water or less water? Assuming I'm not able to fill it up. Well, if I go longer, my water will keep on going down. So this you will say is a negative slope, or you'll say negative association. Does that make sense? Okay. One final set of problems which are not very tricky, but they are definitely worth doing. When you get these problems, don't make an assumption on what it should be. Just look at the facts. So for example, this problem number 116, height and test scores. Initially you thought there won't be, but plot it. Just see if there's a correlation, right? Okay, we are going to do problems number 120. And I'll teach you some little trick. So let's say we'll do B, which is x minus 2 equal minus 16x plus 1/3. The trick on all of these things is that you just want to do opposite operations. So first you always start with addition subtraction. So I want to get x on one side, right? So what is minus 2? Well, I'll do plus 2. I want to get rid of x from this side. So I am minus 1/6x. So I'm going to add 1/6x. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm doing the opposite. Here, these two are opposite, and here these two are opposite. So if I do this, what happens? I will find out this x get cancelled on this side. I have nothing, no x left on this side. Likewise, minus 2 and plus 2 get cancelled. That means I have nothing except x. So what do I have on this side? I have x plus 1/6 of x is equal 1/3 plus 2. Now here we have to be careful. In order to add, let's just take x out, or I can keep the x there, but I have to have common denominator. So I'll write x as 6x over 6, right? That's how I can write x plus x over 6, correct? 1/6 of x is x over 6. And if I join them together, I get 7x over 6. This equals 1/3 plus 2. How can I write 2 with thirds? Well, it has to be 6, correct? 6 over third is 2. So this equals 7/3. So 7x over 6 equals 7/3. Now how do you solve this? Well, multiply by the reciprocal, because we want to isolate x. So you multiply this by 6. You want to divide by 7. It's multiplying by the reciprocal, both sides, 6 and 7. And then what happens? Well, this 6 and this 6 cancel, this 7 and this 7 cancel, this 7 and this 7 cancels, and I'm left with x equal 6 over 3, which is equal to 2. Okay? So this is one problem. Let's do one more problem. Which one you want to do? Let's try C. And by the way, you can do all of them. You just have to be careful. 3x plus 2 minus 3 equal 3x minus 2. Well, let's expand this. 3x plus 2 becomes 3x plus 6, correct? Minus 3 equal 3x minus 2. This becomes 3x plus 3 equal 3x minus 2. Wait a second. What's going on? If I subtract 3x from both sides, what am I left with? I get 0 plus 3 equal, this is 0, equal minus 2. Plus 3 equal minus 2. How's that possible? Impossible. And you'll say this has no solution. You see that? So that's how we'll do it. So I would say all of these things you can do. 121, which is the driving problem, why don't you talk to Mama or Didi? Okay? Love you. Bye. You can call me if you need any help. Love you.